The stars are right, and that means it's time for another episode of The Whisper in Darkness. I'm your host, the Manfromleng. Thank you very much for joining me today. On this episode, we are taking a look at Dexter Drake, the new mystic investigator who was spoiled yesterday by FFG. Hello, everyone. Dexter Drake was spoiled yesterday by FFG. He is the new promo investigator in Richard Lee Byers' novella Blood of Baalshandor. Hello, Kunstdog. Welcome to the stream. Glad you could make it. Yes, Richard Lee Byers has written a new novella, Blood of Baalshandor, featuring none other than Dexter Drake, the magician. And when you pick up this novella, you will also receive the Dexter Drake investigator card, as well as replacement signature assets and weaknesses for him. No idea when. Hi, Vincent. Welcome to the stream. Glad you could make it. No idea when Dexter will be released in a real expansion, but I have heard that I believe this novella is scheduled to come out maybe in as soon as April, so it won't be long before we get a chance to get our hands on Dexter. Before we get started here, I just want to thank the patrons of this channel for making all this possible. These people have gone above and beyond to bring you the Arkham Horror LCG content that I produce. Special thanks to Alexander P. and the Wandering Gambler, the two latest patrons to Embrace the Darkness. Thanks very much, everyone. Their contributions helped me get the new art for the channel by Cole Monroe Chitty, and thanks to him as well for helping me out with that. If you'd like to become a patron of the channel and get some patron-only content like my post-game shows after my playthroughs, head over to patreon.com, sign up for a tier of your choice, and claim your rewards. That would be awesome. So we have the Blood of Baalshandor. Dexter Drake comes with a signature ally as well as a signature weakness. We're going to do today, we're going to take a look at Dexter, talk a little bit about his abilities, his cards as well, and then we're going to try to build a deck. The one big unknown, of course, is we don't know what his deck building restrictions are. There have been several theories floating about over the past couple days about what his deck building restrictions will be, but we're going to try to build a deck and play with him today. We're probably going to take on the Unnamed Wilds. That's a pretty good scenario for testing new investigators, so we will see how he does in that. So let's take a look at Dexter himself here. Dexter is he is the magician. He's a mystic. He has 5 willpower, 2 intellect, 3 combat, and 2 agility. He has the sorcerer and veteran traits, I believe, because he is a veteran of the First World War. He has a free triggered ability. During your turn, discard an asset you control. Play an asset with a different title from your hand, reducing its cost by 1. And you can do that to limit once per round during your turn. His Elder Sign effect is +2. And you may return an asset from your play area to your hand, then draw 1 card. He has 6 health and 8 sanity, as you would expect from a mystic, and his flavor text is, "Do you want to see some true magic?" Honestly, I'm a little bit disappointed in my first impression. I was a little bit disappointed in Dexter. I've been waiting for more investigators along the lines of Diana Stanley. That is, investigators who don't necessarily, mystic investigators, that is, who don't necessarily need to rely on the spell-slinging mystic archetype with those, assets such as Shriveling and Withering and Sixth Sense and Rite of Seeking. And Dexter is definitely not that mystic. In fact, he leans more heavily into that mystic archetype than pretty much any other mystic we've got. He's all about assets, and with his 5 willpower, of course, is amazing, but the rest of his stat line is not particularly awe-inspiring. 2 intellect is going to make him a pretty slow investigator if you need to pick up clues with intellect. 3 combat is average. Nothing really to write home about there. You'll be able to kill rats without too much trouble, but killing anything bigger than a rat is going to be a little difficult for Dexter. And of course, 2 agility is not great either if you're trying to evade anything. Again, that's below average. So he will have trouble running away from things, fighting things, or grabbing clues unless he has some of those mystic assets on the table, like Withering, Shriveling, Rite of Seeking, Sixth Sense, Mists of Rillier, things like that to help him basically do anything. And of course, that's what makes Mystics a fairly slow class, is that they really can't do all that much until you have all that stuff on the table. So they take a little bit longer to get going. Now, his free triggered ability is pretty good. It enables you to save a resource while playing an asset without taking an action or incurring an attack of opportunity. That's pretty nice if you have, say, a couple of assets on the table, one of which is not shriveling, and you need to, say, take down some enemy. You can play that shriveling from your hand for 2 resources instead of 3, and you can slip it in. Hi, Tim. Glad you could make it. Yeah, he is a bit of a yawn. He's pretty bog standard mystic. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what we're going to talk about his deck building restrictions here in a minute. So you can slip past. You can slip an asset through an enemy, get your shriveling down on the table, and play that, and be able then to attack. And you haven't lost any tempo that way either. You still have, say, 3 actions left over that you can fire away with shriveling, potentially taking down an enemy that has up to 6 health. So that's pretty nice. The real question I have about him is how often do you really replace the assets with a different asset that you have? I was trying to think of how often I've done this in past decks I've played, and honestly, I can't think of many situations where I'm wanting to replace assets on the table that are with other assets. Hi, Timo. Glad you could make it to the stream today. We're talking about Dexter Drake. Yeah, I was thinking about, say, my Luke Robinson deck that I played during the Beyond the Gates of Sleep playthrough, and basically, once I get my 2 Hawkeye folding cameras and my shriveling and my, I believe it's Holy Rosary down on the table, there's not really many other accessories I'm looking for. I'm not really looking to change up I'm not really looking to change up my shrivelings or my Hawkeye folding cameras. So maybe you need to play him with a bunch of different assets and sort of tricks of a bunch of different tricks that you could swap. The one situation, as Tim points out in the chat, is when you swip, often when I do swap an asset, it's an ally, and the big ally in the Mystic class that you could swap is David Renfield. If you were able to get David down on the table early enough, you'd be able to generate a pile of resources with him, and then swap him out for a better ally, and subsequently remove all that doom off the table, so you wouldn't have to worry about advancing the act. So that would certainly be helpful. That sort of conflicts with his signature asset, as we'll see in a minute. Hi, Travis. Welcome to the stream. Glad you could make it. Yeah, you do have to discard that asset as well. So perhaps Quantum Flux is going to be a card that you need to play in a Dexter Drake deck, just so you can bring all those assets that you have discarded back. The other thing that worries me a little bit about that, about swapping assets, is while you do get a bit of a discount on them, Mystic assets still tend to be quite expensive, depending which assets you're playing with and which assets he has access to. You're still going to have to pay for all that stuff, and Mystics aren't particularly great at generating resources unless they've got somebody like David Renfield on the table. So that's going to get pretty costly to be constantly swapping assets, and I'm just not too sure how often you're going to feel like doing that. Dexter's Elder Sign ability enables you to bounce an asset from the table back to your hand and draw a card. This is pretty nice for cards like Shriveling. If you've used up all your charges and you want to refresh it, if you happen to draw an Elder Sign, you get that +2. You can bounce that Shriveling back to your hand and then play it again at a discount. So you get to play it for 2 resources, and you get those 4 charges back. That's pretty nice. You could also use it to bounce David Renfield in a pinch if you were running close to that doom threshold and you needed to get rid of him and there was no way to kill him. You could simply bounce him back to your hand as well, and you get to draw a card to boot, which is pretty nice. Elder Sign abilities they tend to be, I mean, they're nice when they happen, but they are pretty rare. I think in my last game with Luke Robinson, I didn't see a single Elder Sign. So it's nice when it happens, but it's not something you can rely on. So if you're able to bounce an asset and draw a card, that would be okay. So yeah, I'm having a difficult time imagining how his special ability works with the assets that we have, because typically I would play, say, a Sixth Sense and a Shriveling, and I would just want to keep those on the table. Now maybe you do a trick like you bounce your if you need to play another Shriveling, you play that to bounce your Sixth Sense, but then of course it's not going to your hand, it's only going to the discard pile. So you get a bit of a discount, but then you're cutting yourself off at the knees as far as investigation goes. Hi Aegeus, welcome to the stream. Glad you could make it. It's I believe minus 27 degrees Celsius here on the plateau today, so I thought I would do some streaming, talk a little bit about Dexter Drake, our new mystic here who will be released in Richard Lee Byers' new novella that will be coming out shortly. Now, the big question, of course, with Dexter is what his deck building restrictions will be. There are several competing theories were being thrown out on the discussion boards yesterday. The one theory which I sort of supported at first, but now I'm a little more skeptical about. Hi Bernard, welcome to the stream. Would be that he's a pure mystic and he has access to trick cards. I guess that makes sense from a thematic context. I mean, him being a magician and all, he should have some synergy with tricks. However, tricks turned out to be Rita's wheelhouse, so I'm not too sure if he will see tricks. And I did take a look at the various tricks that are available, and they are not an inspiring bunch of cards. I can just take a quick look at them here. We've got cards like I'm Out of Here, You Handle This One, Bait and Switch, Belly of the Beast, Cheap Shot, Eavesdrop, Hiding Spot, Persuasion, Sleight of Hand, Slip Away, Think on Your Feet, and Warning Shot. Those are all the level 0 tricks. All the tricks happen to be events, so they don't really synergize all that well with Dexter's ability. So if he does get to include tricks, I'm not too sure which ones he would like. Just taking a quick look at this list, things like Eavesdrop, say, I mean, that you need to evade enemies, and he's not going to be evading anybody with a 2 agility. Hiding Spot is pretty good. I like that card. It does have the 2 agility skill icon, so that could certainly be an option. Persuasion, that requires an intellect skill test, and with an intellect skill of 2, you're not going to be persuading anybody of anything. Sleight of Hand is a pretty amazing card. So that would certainly be a possibility. You'd need to find some items, and certainly items are assets. So I could see him getting the tricks just to play Sleight of Hand, to use that one. That would be pretty... there'd probably be some interesting synergies there. Slip Away, again, you get to add your intellect to your evasion attempt, but when you're adding 2 and 2 to get 4, you're not really going to be... you're not really making a whole lot of progress on your agility there. Think on Your Feet isn't too bad. It could help him. Could help Dexter certainly evade an enemy in a pinch. And Warning Shot adds ammo to or you spend ammo on firearms, and I just don't see Dexter being the type of guy to use firearms, so that's probably not going to happen. I'm Out of Here. I mean, that's a niche card that works very well in certain scenarios, and it's not very helpful in others. It does have the 2 agility skill icons, though, which would certainly help Dexter. You Handle This One. Of course, that's a staple of rogue decks in multiplayer, but usually you're using You Handle This One to pass willpower skill tests, pass treacheries with willpower skill tests on them to your fellow investigators. So maybe Dexter's he's not passing the willpower treacheries, he's passing the other ones, the intellect and the agility treacheries to fellow investigators. Bait and Switch, again, it's has to do with evasion, and Dexter isn't all that great with evading with his agility, so I don't see that seeing a whole lot of play. Again, Belly of the Beast is another evasion card, and Cheap Shot, you're adding your agility to your attack, so that'd be a 5 for Dexter. So not a really great, inspiring bunch of cards in the trick class with the trick trait. So that may not... him being a pure mystic with access to, say, level 0 to 3 trick cards doesn't sound like it's would be all that interesting from a deck building perspective. Now, there have been one of the other theories out there is I sort of like the idea of him having Finn-like deck building restrictions, where, say, he would have access to cards from with the trick trait, as well as, say, 5 other cards from another class. Rogue makes the most sense, I think, him being a magician in the 1920s and all. Hi, Juicy. Welcome to the stream. Glad you could make it. Him being a rogue would make sense. Maybe if he could access Seeker, so maybe a Finn-like deck building restrictions would work with him. You could include, say, 5 assets from another class to bolster the assets that he has in the Mystic class. And one of the other theories I heard is that he has deck building restrictions similar to Mandy or Tony, where they get to pick a class, and then they get to include all of say the skills or events from that particular class. In Dexter's case, of course, it would make sense for him to just get the assets and none of the skills or events. So that might be a very reasonable way of approaching his deck building. Say if he gets to pick Rogue or Seeker or Guardian, and then he gets to include all the assets from those, as well as maybe the trick traits. So then he can play things like Sleight of Hand with some of the weapons and whatnot. So you've got some nice synergy there. But again, we don't know. When we build a deck a little bit later here, we're just going to basically go pure Mystic and maybe throw in a couple tricks just to see whether they make sense or not. Now, Dexter's signature asset, well, his replacement asset, we don't know what his real signature and cards and weaknesses are going to be. His signature asset in the book is Molly Maxwell, the exotic Morgana. She's a 3-cost asset with willpower, agility, and a wild skill icon. She takes up the ally slot, so you'd probably want to be picking up a charisma fairly early with Dexter, so you can take advantage of Molly as well as some of the other great Mystic allies that are out there. She's, of course, Dexter Drake deck only. She has the free triggered ability, exhaust Molly Maxwell and deal her 1 horror. Name any trait 1 at a time. Reveal cards from the top of your deck until an asset with the named trait is revealed. You get to draw that asset, shuffle each other revealed card back into your deck. She's got 2 health and 4 sanity. 4 sanity, of course, is very nice. You can use her free triggered ability up to 4 times per scenario. More if you can find some way of getting her into play. And then she is an asset, so I believe you could bounce her. You could load her up with horror and then bounce her back to your hand with Dexter's ability. I guess that's about as close as you can get to sawing her in half. Bounce her back to your hand to make her disappear, and then play her again to refresh that ability of hers. The ability is pretty nice. Drawing an asset as a free triggered ability, again, gets you around attacks of opportunity and doesn't take up an action. So you could grab an asset with her and then play it with Dexter's ability, and you would be able to basically get 2 free actions out of that and still have your regular 3 actions to go to use that asset. So she's pretty nice in that respect. She will force people to remember the traits on their assets. I cannot think of the traits on some of the assets. I'm just going to look up Shriveling here quickly. It's just spell. Let's see, what else do we have here? In the Mystic assets, we've got spell, ally, and sorcerer. What else we have here? Talents, spells, patron. David Renfield is a patron, so that's pretty unique. You'd probably be able to find him with Molly pretty quickly if you called patron. Of course, you've got things like the Enchanted Blade that have item, relic, weapon, and melee, so you've got lots of options there. If you want to single out that card rather than call item, you can call melee or weapon or relic. It would probably be even better. Charm on the Holy Rosary. Olive McBride has Witch, although I don't think she's going to see a ton of play in Dexter. So we've got lots of spells, a couple of, there's a tome, the Scroll of Prophecies, Scroll of Secrets is a tome, so a couple talents, and a couple charms, a couple relics. Cursed, you could find the Chthonian Stone pretty quickly if you called Cursed. It's the only Mystic asset with that trait, so there are some traits that have unique traits in just the Mystic card pool, so you should be able to pull to find those with Molly. Now, Molly is very good at finding you cards that have those unique traits. She's not quite as good if you need a spell. She doesn't get you if you need a particular spell, say you're desperate for a Shriveling. Molly will not find that in your deck for you. She will simply find you the first card with the spell trait. So it could be Shriveling, or you could get something that isn't going to help you that turn. So she's not a search your deck. She's just reveal from the top until you find the card, a card you need. So she's not quite the oh shit button that you might like to have. That's kind of odd, I found, just because she is a magician's assistant. So if you send her to, say, find the cursed Chthonian stones, she has no trouble. But if you ask her to find a spell, she kind of she has a brain fart and will just grab you whatever spell happens to be handy, not necessarily the spell that you need. So a pretty good ally. She's got 2 health as well, so she can take a hit and not go down like some of those allies we've seen. I'm thinking mainly of somebody like Anna Kazlau, who has 1 health and 1 sanity, and is very vulnerable to asset hate as well as treachery cards. Now we've got we have also his signature weakness, who is Yaztaroth. I've never heard of this entity before. He must be a creation for the for Richard Lee Byers' novella. It is a weakness with the Curse and Pact trait. Dexter Drake deck only, of course, and replacement. Revelation, put Yaztaroth into play in your threat area. You cannot put assets into play, and you may take 2 actions to discard Yaztaroth. Juicy, yeah, that might be some interesting synergy using. Oh yeah, you can just take it to hand. So, yeah, maybe with some deck manipulation, with some scrying or something like that, you could maybe rig your deck. In order to put a card on the top and then draw it with Molly, or near the top. It wouldn't necessarily need to be the top card. I'd probably prefer Scrying 3. I believe that's the one that's the free triggered ability. So you could scry Molly, grab the asset, and play it all in 1 turn without having to take an action. Now, Yaztaroth, we've seen this type of weakness in the past. He is a fairly typical that he just cancels Dexter's ability to play assets. So he's not. I believe we've seen this sort of thing as well in Norman Withers. His signature weakness, the Vengeful Hound, also puts the kibosh on his special ability. But you just need to take 2 actions to discard Yaztaroth, and then you're free to go. So he taxes your actions a little bit, but otherwise I wouldn't say that he is one of the most dangerous weaknesses out there. In fact, if you while he is potentially disruptive, if you draw him late in the game and you've got all the assets, say, you want on the table, you can safely ignore Yaztaroth and not even bother taking the actions, and he won't hurt you. So if you draw him late game and you're set up and good to go, then just ignore him, and you're basically out of card draw. That's about the extent of his effect. He could be annoying at the beginning, but again, you get to take your 2. You just take your 2 actions to free up Dexter's ability, and then Dexter's ability is a free triggered ability, so you do sort of get an action back if you're able to replace an asset with him. So that's those are Dexter Drake's signature assets and weakness. At least the replacement versions, we don't know what his real ones will be once he is released. We haven't had a peek at the backside of his card yet. So let's put together a deck and see what it looks like. I've got my Octagon, loaded the cards into Octagon. So we've got a let me see, where am I here? There we go. So we've got Juicy says Dexter could have access to rogue extra action cards like Leo. Yeah, that like those would make his weakness even weaker if he can take Leo and he gets an extra action. So maybe there is a big ally build. He's the consummate stage performer who has a bunch of helpers out on stage with him, pulling tricks out of their sleeves. So let's see what a deck looks like. I just need to change one setting here. If I can do that, so we don't. There we go. Okay. So I've loaded up all the cards. Unfortunately, Streamlabs OBS isn't working particularly well with Chrome here. So we are going to, I think what we'll do is we're going to go through and add some of the cards that we know we want right away. I think David Renfield is probably a safe bet. So we will add a couple of him. Let's see, I want to be there. So let's get David in there. And we'll add a couple copies of him. Now, for asset-wise, we've got. I think we've got to go shriveling as well. That's pretty obvious, and we're going to take probably 2 Sixth Sense as well to get that to get his investigation. I'm going to take 1 Right of Seeking because I think that's going to be his only, might be his only access to grabbing multiple clues. What else do we have in the asset department? We've got alchemical transmutation. I don't think that's gonna. I mean, that would give us some resources. It does cost 1, and Dexter could replace it, and he's certainly got the willpower for it. So it might be worth a slot, but I'd probably only include 1. If I did. Alyssa, I don't think Alyssa's the right, she just gives us intellect, and we're not going to be using intellect. Arcane Initiate, of course, is another good, a very good ally. She does help us get our spells, so I'm very tempted to include her. Arcane Research is probably a lock as well, just because he only has 8 sanity, so he's not as doesn't have as much to play with as some of the other investigators who play Arcane Research, but chances are he's just going to be upgrading his shrivelings and whatnot anyway, so Arcane Research is probably a good card. Now where is my, there it is there. So we'll add that in there. What else do... I'm just going to assume that he's got 30... He can use 30 cards. And we'll go from there. What's going on here? All right. What else do we have in the asset department? We've got David already. There's Enchanted Blade, but... that's just adding +1 to his combat, which isn't great. Forbidden Knowledge, I'm not crazy about that. Healing Words. Holy Rosary, I think, is probably better in this case than... Mystics usually either go for St. Hubert's Key or Holy Rosary. I think Holy Rosary is probably the one that we want here, since we're not getting any of the boost from the intellect. Now, you could also probably go, if you went with a card like St. Hubert's Key, you could probably build an Arcane Research. What would that put him at? He'd drop to 6, and then he'd have 2, so you'd need 4. So I think you'd only need 1 to take 1 horror to be in desperate territory. So maybe there's a desperate Dexter build out there that that you could play around with. That's certainly a possibility. What else we have? We've got Mists. I think we'll probably put Mists in as well. Which one is it? It is this one here. So that's 11 assets, and then mists, olive. No, we're not using olive. We've got a right in there. Ritual candles. I mean, that's interesting. Probably not enough though for you're just with ritual candles you're just getting the +1 skill value, so probably not enough if you're using your others with his below average skills. What else we've got? We've got our shrivelings, sign magic. We don't really need that since we're going to be do we want one? It is fast. Gives us an additional arcane slot. All right, let's include one. Well, Timo is suggesting one sign magic, so we'll see how that does. That does give him an extra arcane slot, but I'm not too sure if we would need it since we want to replace assets, not necessarily. What do we got? Sixth Sense, we've already got that. St. Hubert's Key, we went with, I think Chthonian Stone might be interesting. We are going to play Untamed Wilds, so I think I'm just going to put one Chthonian Stone in, and that'll be... like I said, this is just a very rough deck building here. We're not really... since we don't know his deck building restrictions, we're just guessing on what he can actually do. Now, as for events, we've got, of course, we want Drawn to the Flame. That's pretty standard. And we want... Now, we could take Deny Existence and... Ward of Protection. I think we'll take both. We can always cut some stuff if we need to later. What are we up to? 13 plus 6 is 19. What else do we have? We've got Drawn, Ward, Deny, Uncage the Soul, reducing its cost by 3. Yeah, we're going to need that because we don't have... He doesn't get his discount until he's replacing, so those initial assets are going to be expensive. We've got 21 cards so far. Storm of Spirits. I'm not sure where Spectral Razor must be. Yeah, that's one of the new spoiled cards. I haven't even seen that one. We've got Read the Signs, Quantum Flux, Premonition. Let's see. Astral Travel, Blinding Light. Let's see what we get for skills here. So we don't need Guts. What do we want? I think probably 2 Unexpected Courage. And what else do we have in the skills department? Yeah, I'm debating whether we need a flashlight or a flashlight with Sixth Sense as well as a Rite of Seeking. We should be... Yeah, maybe he does need a flashlight. I mean, the ability to bounce that flashlight juicy back to his hand to refresh the charges is pretty nice. I'm going to add flashlight. Yeah, just with shriveling and a Rite of Seeking, I don't think that's enough to... that's going to be quite enough to to see him through. We could get stuck and not see either of them. So we are at 15 assets. We've got 8 events, so we're at 23. 23, 24, 25. What do we have in terms of skills? We've got Defiance, Enraptured, Fearless. Enraptured adds a charge or secret, but it's got an intellect skill icon. I don't think we want that. Maybe Fearless. Prophecy might be worthwhile if we're playing with David. I think I'm going to throw Prophecy in there, because ideally we want to get David on the table, and then we can use the Prophecy. And Prophecy's got wild icons. So that is 15, 23, 27. So we're 3 cards. Now, what do we have for tricks? If he can include tricks, would there be tricks we want? Hiding Spot is kind of interesting. We could escape an enemy, and if we're playing Untamed Wilds, Hiding Spot might be helpful to get away from things like the Vipers. Sleight of Hand. Yeah, we've got to include Sleight of Hand. I mean, he's a magician. If he doesn't have Sleight of Hand, then there's something, the designers have done something seriously wrong. So we're going to include some Sleight of Hand. So we'll need to look at our assets and make sure we've got enough items to use, because right now we just have the flashlight. So we'll throw Sleight of Hand in there. 25, 29. Let's see. We get one more. I'm going to throw Hiding Spot in there. Okay, so we've got Hiding Spot. So we are at 31 cards right now. We could probably use some more items if we're going to justify the Hiding Spot. So right now we don't have we've got a Holy Rosary. We've got the flashlights. I think I'm going to take out the Sign Magic and replace... What else can we replace here? Hi, Captain Thorne. Welcome to the stream. Glad you could make it. We are building a Dexter Drake deck using our best guess as to what his deck building restrictions are, and then we're going to take it up against Untamed Wilds. So let's see how we will do. What else can we bid in there? As much as I love Deny Existence, I feel like I want to take that out to try to cram some more items in there to justify the Sleight of Hand. Problem is there aren't that many mystic items that warrant it. And we've got Ritual Candles, but yeah, that's not... it's the flashlight. What about... Juicy mentioned smoking pipes. Let's take a look at those. Smoking pipes, or take 1 damage to heal a horror. 3 supplies. Yeah, it's probably worthwhile. Let's add a smoking pipe, because we can always bounce that with we can get that into play with with the sleight of hand. We've got the Chthonian stone we can use as well. Yeah, so we've got a few items, not a ton, not a huge number, but some that will be helpful. How are we doing in terms of deck size? We've got 15 plus 12, 27 plus 4 is 31. So we need to remove a card. As much as I want Deny Existence, I'm going to go down to 1. Maybe take it out altogether. So that gives us an even 30 right now. And that would, just let me check the list here to see if there's anything else that we're interested in. I think we've got most of the usual suspects in terms of the Mystic cards anyway, without trying to do anything too tricky, since we're just going to play a game with it. Events. I think we're pretty much just going the standard way. What's the Spectral Razor do? Spectral Razor comes out in Dark Side of the Moon. Add your willpower value to your skill value for this attack. Immediately before this attack, you may engage the attacked enemy. Attack deals +1 damage, +2 damage. Oh, that's not bad. That doesn't seem too bad. All right. Well, I think we're doing okay here. We've got, so our deck is as follows. We've got David Renfield. We've got 2 copies of him, 2 copies of Shriveling, 2 copies of Sixth Sense, 1 of Rite of Seeking, 2 Holy Rosaries, 2 Mists. Now, Mists could also be Withering if we just want to kill things, but we are playing Untamed Wild, so there is an advantage to evading things instead of killing them. 1 Chthonian stone, 2 flashlights, and a smoking pipe. In terms of events, we've got Drawn to the Flame. Of course, 2 copies of that. 2 copies of Ward of Protection. 1 copy of Deny Existence. 2 copies of Uncage the Soul. 2 copies of Sleight of Hand. And 2 copies of Hiding Spot. Those being our tricks. And in skills, we've got Unexpected Courage and Prophecy. So that will be 30 cards. So, oh, thanks, Captain. Glad you enjoyed it. Yeah, there are various theories about what Dexter's what his deck building would be. It would be interesting if he had access to a few more assets from another class. I think just because there aren't a ton of items in the Mystic. Hey, great old one. Glad you could make it. Let's see what else we have here. Yeah, there aren't that many super amazing items in the Mystic stuff. So maybe if he had access to items from another class, that would make us Sleight of Hand a little better. All right, let's save this up and see how we do. See how we do. So we will close that up. Let's make sure everything is saved like it should be. All right, let's switch over to Octagon and let's play a game. So if everything worked properly as it should, we should have a Dexter Drake deck ready to go here. There he is. With our 2 arcane researches. So we'll start with a couple mental trauma. Let's go get our Untamed Wilds. When I build decks in Octagon, I load the Chaos Bag with the Investigator, so it's so I don't have to worry about. So It's kind of annoying if you want to swap scenarios quickly because of the differing chaos bags. But we'll see how this goes. This is interesting. Ichtaka, I think we're going to have to kill Ichtaka. We're not going to be able to... to talk to her because our intellect is awful. So unless we get a good draw, we're not going to be able to really do much against her. So we start off here. We're also playing without... we may play... Which supplies do we have? Maybe we'll just take the map. And that will... we can take the map, and that will be an easy thing to remember. We haven't drawn a signature weakness, so let's do that now, see how that goes. Let's see. Our signature weakness is the stubborn detective. So he will treat our printed text box as blank. So he is sort of like Yazdaroth. It's like we've got 2 copies of Yazdaroth in our deck because he's going to blank us as well. All right, we're shuffled up. I think we're ready to go. Let's... visible to nobody. Let's shuffle that up. All right. I think we're ready to go. All right, let's draw our opening hand and see what our first Dexter hand looks like. All right, so we got Yazdaroth, so he's going back in the deck. But we did get Molly, we did get David. So that's awfully nice. We got a Mists, that's pretty good. We got a Ward, that's pretty good. So far I'm liking that hand. Yeah, let's just take one. And we get a Shriveling. So we got a Mists, a Shriveling, a Ward, and 2 allies. So pretty good hand, I think. So we can put David into play and then swap him with Molly. So that will be a good... a nice trick to pull. Have to have some coffee to warm up. I'm streaming in my basement, which tends to get a little colder when it's minus 27 outside. All right. Well, I think we're ready to go here. So I believe our first action, let's play David Renfield. It's going to cost us 2 resources. And we're going to put a Doom on him right away and gain a resource back. I think if we can play Mists now and then Shriveling after once we have another resource. So second action, we're going to play Mists. So that has 4 charges. And I believe our third action, let's use our third action to use the map. Let's look at, so when we explore next turn, we're ready to go. So top 3 cards, there's the River Canyon, the Rope Bridge, and Lost in the Wilds. So the map lets us 2 on the top, 1 on the bottom. So we could go... Oh, we don't have a lot of investigation. So we're going to have to probably put... Canyon, we'll put the Rope Bridge on top, and Lost in the Wilds will go on the bottom of the deck. Alright, so that is our opening turn with Dexter Drake. No enemies. We draw a Prophecy, and we are at 1 Doom of 6. So this is going to be a nice demonstration. We're going to be able to bounce to get rid of David and get Molly into play for 2 resources. So, hi Matt, welcome to the stream. Glad you could make it. Thanks very much. Taking Dexter for a test. We'll see how he does in the jungle. He's not the most agile guy. He's gonna be he'll be snake food probably, but we'll see. So we drew a prophecy. Let's go to our first mythos phase. We've got 2 Doom of 6, and let's draw an encounter card, which is gonna be Voice of the Jungle. Put it into play at the end of your turn. If you did not successfully explore this turn, take a horror, test 3 willpower, and if you succeed, we get to discard the Voice of the Jungle. Yeah, Dexter in the jungle. Well, he tried to, I think he tried to cast a spell on the snakes, but the snakes would see through his trickery, and I don't think Molly likes snakes either. She certainly doesn't have the... she is certainly not going to be able to take a snake bite. That is for certain. So we get our 3 actions back. Let's... well, we can explore this turn, so we don't really have... We've got a couple explorers at our disposal, so we can... we don't really have to take an action to deal with Voice of the Jungle at the moment. Let's add... Let's gain a resource with our friend David, and then we will play our Shriveling. So we've got our offense and defense down. Let's go explore. We know we're going to get the... yeah, I think he would reach into his hat to pull out his rabbit and find that a snake had eaten the rabbit prior to that, and he just ends up getting snake bit. That's how poor Dexter is going to go down in the jungle. His rabbit will be eaten, and then he will follow his rabbit shortly thereafter. Okay, so we need to grab 1 clue, but with our 2 intellect, man, oh man, this is where he's gonna suffer. I could have added should have added a doom when I used David. That would have given us an extra turn prophecy and into an unexpected courage. So we'll do that. Hi Lucas, welcome. Glad you could make it from Poland today. Hopefully it's a little bit warmer there than it is here. I think we're just going to investigate 2 versus 2. Not great, but we get a 0. So there you go. We managed to grab this clue. So next turn we can explore. We're going to have to make a 2. We're going to have to test 2 agility. We know we're going to get the River Canyon. So it's just passing that agility skill test is going to be the trick. So we did grab a clue. So far, so good. No enemies to worry about. There is a flashlight. That is nice to see right about now. We'll need that for the River Canyon for sure. We go to the Mythos phase. There are 3 of 6. So our prophecy is now turned on. It is now an unexpected courage. Our encounter card is going to be, there is a Viper. There is a Viper. Well, we can evade the Viper, so we don't have to kill the Viper. I don't think we need to come back here. I think the River Canyon has everything we need. So let's, I guess our first action, I'm going to use David. Gain a resource. Let's use our Mists of Rillier to evade the Pit Viper. We're going to go 5 versus 3. Don't think that should be okay. Well, we'll see. Chaos Bag gives us another 0. So the Chaos Bag is... haven't seen that nasty -5 that causes people so much grief in the Forgotten Age campaign. So we evade the snake. Now, it's just a question of whether we want to take the 2 damage or not when we explore at the River Canyon. Not crazy about that idea, since we only have 6 health. So I think we'll commit... we will explore. Let's test 2 agility, so we are going to go 4 versus 2. Wow, Chaos Bag gives us another 0. That's amazing. The Chaos Bag is being so kind to us. So we do explore. We don't fall off the bridge, and we end up finding the River Canyon. We get to move to it. River Canyon, of course, 4 shroud location with 1 clue, heal, 1 damage from an investigator. Check our supplies. If we've got a canteen, we can heal 2. I think now is the time that we play our flashlight. Yes, Drake doesn't manage to fall off the bridge. I wish we had a sleight of hand for this flashlight, but we don't. So we will add 3 charges, and that's it. So we're going to be at 4 of 6 doom. So we've got another turn of Dexter before Molly needs to take the stage. Sorry, another stay. What's this guy's name? David. We've got another turn of David before Molly needs to replace him. We get a Drawn to the Flame. Okay, that's very nice to have for the end game. If we can find the ruins of Estley quickly, Drawn to the Flame is amazing to drop that on there and just grab the clues you need. So that will be our upkeep. Mythos, we are at 4 of 6. Our encounter card is going to be an Estley Guardian. Okay, well David can actually take a shot from that guy. So we don't have to do anything about him. We do have the cards we need to take out Ichtaka if necessary. We're going to need some more willpower, though. Okay. So if we reduce it by 2, we're still at a 2. That's not great. Maybe we play the Drawn to the Flame now. Until we get... we need to get to Serpent's Haven. We need 3 clues. We need Serpent's Haven. We need this clue and then 1 from Serpent's Haven, if we can get it. Hi, Pluttercull. This is Untamed Wilds. We are playing with a theoretical version of Dexter Drake, the new mystic investigator, who will be coming out in Richard Lee Byers' new novella, The Blood of Baalshandor, sometime soon. So we are just playing around, seeing how he does. It's mostly just a straight up mystic build with a couple of trick cards thrown in. We don't know what his deck building restrictions are, so we are just theory crafting here. So David, will use him to gain a resource. Man, I really want that 6th sense, but I feel like we need to keep moving. If I use my drawn here, presuming we get 6th sense by the end or another drawn, just feel like we need to grab this clue here. So we'll grab this clue. We discover we have to draw an encounter card, which is going to be another Esley Guardian. Wow, okay. So that's a little more serious. Now we've got 2 of these guys who are going to be shooting us. Okay, if we kill Ichtaka, we're going to have to deal with these guys. So maybe we deal with them now. Because even if we get... If I remember correctly, killing Ichtaka... You need to talk to Ichtaka if you want to turn the Guardians off. But we don't really have the means to talk to her with the 2 intellect. Interesting. So... Yeah, these guys are at a very bad spot. I think we're going to have to kill them. And we'd need at least 2 charges to take care of Ichtaka. Wow, that's risky. And they're aloof. Oh, is empty? Oh, it is empty. Okay, so these guys go back here. All right. Yeah, no, that's a good call. Thank you, Alexander. They do spawn at an empty location, and so they have to go all the way back here. Okay, that's fine. All right, we don't have to worry about these guys. That makes the game a lot simpler. So they're hanging out at the expedition camp. So as long as we can leave the river canyon in a timely fashion, we won't have to deal with them. So let's go explore. We will use our second action to go exploring. So we just draw the top card. It is... Oh, look at that. Holy cow. Serpent's Haven right off the bat. That is lucky as hell. That's just crazy lucky to draw that. So we have 1 action remaining, and there are 2 clues there, and we've got our flashlight. So Ichtaka's coming down next turn if we want her. Second one... Yeah, that's true. So this one... Actually, yeah. Man, it's been a while since I played this properly. So the 1 Guardian just goes away because there were no empty locations. The first one spawns at the expedition camp. Good catch, Daniel. We've got 1 action remaining, so we will use our flashlight to grab a clue at Serpent's Haven. Chaos Bag says 0 again. Are there... I'm just going to check the Chaos Bag here. This is... There are other tokens in the Chaos Bags besides zeros, but I can't seem to draw them right now. So we do grab a clue there. Now, we can spawn Ichtaka at the end of the round. Are we ready for Ichtaka? Or do we... Because we're at we've got 5 willpower. Man, we've done so well with drawing locations. I mean, I think we can afford... Yeah, fate is favoring me a little too much at the moment, which makes me nervous, because then we're going to get creamed here down the road. I think we can maybe take our time a little bit. I'd feel a lot better, because it's 5 versus 5. And I don't want to pitch Molly. I mean, Molly, I could sacrifice her, but that just gets us 2. We'd really need 2 and 2. I think we're going to go slow. We're going to slow down a little bit here. We've had a pretty good run. We draw another copy of Shriveling. That's okay, because we could replace the Mists with the other copy of Shriveling for 2 resources if need be. We're going to have to replace David this turn. So let's see what the Mythos phase holds. We're at 5 of 6. Encounter card is a low on supplies. That's fine. We just lose 2 resources. We will get our David bucks, and then we're going to replace David with Molly for 2 resources. Using Molly's... Oh, David gives us this... Oh, no. David gives us +1 willpower, though. Shoot. I think I screwed that up, because David gave us +1, which would have been better than Molly for fighting Ichitaka. Anyway. So we've got Molly. That's a free triggered ability. So we've used 2 free triggered abilities. I'm not too worried about the Voice of the Jungle, since we are just going to take a horror. That's no big deal. Now, we can exhaust Molly to find a card. But what card do we want? We could get... There's the Chthonian Stone. That locks out a Chaos Bag token, but that doesn't help us. We need our Holy Rosary. That's what we need. We need a Holy Rosary. A Holy Rosary is a charm. So let's exhaust Molly and deal her a horror. We'll call Charm. So we reveal cards until we find a charm. There is a Smoking Pipe, Uncage the Soul, Sleight of Hand, Unexpected Courage. Chthonian Stone is a relic in Cursed. Word of Protection. Sleight of Hand. Drawn to the Flame. There's our weakness. There's Hiding Spot. There's Prophecy. Where are our... So far we haven't got a charm. I think there is only the one charm in the deck, so... Wow, they were way deep. They were right at the bottom. Oh, no. Are you kidding me? Are both Holy Rosaries right at the bottom? They are. Oh, man. Both Holy Rosaries sitting on the bottom of the deck. That is crazy. The last and the second last card are my Holy Rosaries. Okay, so we've got our Holy Rosary out, which we've got it in our hand anyway. I did screw that up big time. I should have gained another resource with David. That's fine. We will... Okay, we're going to set up for this. We're going to set up to kill her. We're going to gain a resource. We're going to play the Rosary. Bumping our willpower to 6. We are going to grab this clue with our flashlight. Chaos Bag says, oh, come on. Auto fail. Perfect setup. and we didn't get it. So that is really annoying. Well, we've got one more flashlight token, so that's fine. Okay, so Molly paid off there big time because both of our Holy Rosaries were at the bottom of our deck. So now we've got, we managed to grab one. Now we get a Sixth Sense, so that's good too. We can replace our Mists of Rillier with that. Should have 2 fewer resources if necessary. So we get to play it for 2. That's pretty good. And we are advancing. No, we are not. We are not advancing this turn yet. We go to 5 of 6. Chaos. We get a Creeping Poison. That just surges into an Arrows from the Trees. Take 1 damage and plus 1 additional damage for each ally asset you control. So we take 2. We take 2 damage. So she will. Poor Molly takes an arrow, and we will take an arrow. And that is that. Well, at the end of the phase, we wanted to advance. That's right. So we have to step back for a second. So at the end of the end, we take a horror because of Voices of the Jungle. So let's do that. All right. So when the round ends, investigators at any non-campsite location may spend requisite number of clues as a group to advance. We're probably going to have to step... No, that's fine, I think. Shouldn't be an issue. So Ichtaka shows up. Mad as a hornet. And yeah, we're going to have to redraw that card because we have to reshuffle. So let's get rid of those. With those, go back into the encounter deck. So our real card this turn. So now we need to either defeat Ichtaka or make friends with her. With the 2 intellect, we are not going to be making friends with her. Our encounter card is going to be Snakebite. Test 3 agility. That is going to be a cancel, I believe. So we will take a horror to cancel that. And that gets rid of that. All right. Unfortunately, we don't have any extra willpower icons, which I would love to have right about now. Okay, so now the battle is on. We are going to advance next turn, but we have to deal with Ichtaka first. So we are going to shrivel her. So we are going 6 versus 5. And that's all we get. 6 versus 5. We don't have any other icons in our hand. So Chaos Bag says Elder Sign. That is amazing. So we get 2 damage on her. We get to Elder Sign, so we get a +2, and we can return an asset from your play area to your hand, then draw a card. Which do we have one we want to do? Flashlight? Flashlight seems like the best choice. Or Alexander, Arrows from the Trees was, I had to, when I advanced the act deck at the end of my round, I had to reshuffle the encounter discard pile into the encounter deck. So the Arrows from the Trees pull was, I had to go back and re-pull for that. So that's where the damage from that went. So I can pull the Flashlight back or Molly. If I pull Molly back, I get 2 willpower skill icons that I can use to almost have a really good shot of taking out Ichitaka in 2 attacks. If I pull the flashlight, then I have a chance to replay it and get more investigation. Down the road. Let's pull the flashlight back. And we get to draw a card. Get a draw into the flame. Okay. Okay, I think we use Molly again. We call Charm again to find our other Holy Rosary. So we grab the Holy Rosary. And then we can commit that to this skill test. All right. So we're going 7 versus 5 for our second attack on Ichitaka. 7 versus 5. Chaos Bag says 0. Man, can't complain about that. We will deal another 2 damage to her. And she is defeated. So she is added to the victory display. Some very lucky pulls here from Mr. Dexter. Maybe he has cast a spell on the Chaos Bag. That must be what's happened here, because he's doing very well. If we defeat Ichitaka, remember you fought with Ichitaka. Choose an investigator to take control of Alejandro Vela. Where is Alejandro? Oh no, Molly! You bastard! You bastard! So we get Alejandro and Molly goes away. Stupid Alejandro. Fine. Alright, well we get Alejandro. Molly goes away. She did her job though. She got us 2 copies of Holy Rosary, which was enough to help us get past Ichitaka. So we have to add a tablet to the Chaos Bag. And what else do we have to do? Shuffle the 3 set-aside ruins locations into the deck. And along with that. Okay, so we have 1 action remaining after all of that. So we just need 3 clues and we need to be at the ruins of Estley. So we are almost finished. I think we need to get rid of this Voice of the Jungle now. So we are going to go 6 versus 3. Chaos Bag says Skull. That is a -0. So Voice of the Jungle goes away. And that is our turn. All right, so far so good. Dexter is holding his own in the jungle. Molly was a huge part of that. She performed her assistance duties extremely well, and we managed to grab 2 copies of Holy Rosary that helped us a great deal. So we grab a hiding spot. That's pretty good. Unfortunately, that's not going to help us if we draw an enemy here, which we are going to advance, which we get more enemies. So we go to the Mythos phase. We do advance now. So we shuffle the encounter discard pile in the set-aside Agents of Yig set into the encounter deck. I believe this is the Agents of Yig right here. Sure is. We do that. Then we will... Each investigator tests 3 willpower, and if we fail, so we're going 6 versus 3, Chaos Bag gives us an auto fail. So if you are poisoned, take a damage in a horror. If you were not poisoned, push the... So we get poisoned by an auto fail on that. I think that's like one of the first times I've ever failed that skill test. So we get poisoned, but through no fault of our own, the Chaos Bag had other plans for us. And I believe that's all we needed to do there. So we have 9 turns left. Shuffle encounter. Yeah, it was a shuffle in. So we need to shuffle these 2 in. And then we're ready to go. All right. Encounter card is going to be... It is an Estly Guardian. Yeah, it was going so good. And now we have an Estly Guardian hanging out at the River Canyon. So I think we have the wrong act in play. Each Estly Guardian enemy gets +1 fight and +1 evade. Each arrows of the tree's treachery gains surge. Only investigators at the Estly ruins can advance. Okay. So we've got this chump here. He shows up at the River Canyon. So now we need to leave Serpent's Haven as quickly as we can. Fortunately, we have... Yeah, there's not that many... cards we can pull. So let's Alejandro is going to have to do some stuff here for us. He's going to have to take some damage. Let us grab this. Oh, we bounced the flashlight. Right. Okay, so we're going to have to gain a resource, play the flashlight, use the flashlight, or do we just no, we don't have the money to pay for 6 cents either. Basically, I just want to find Estly ruins, play Drawn to the Flame, and end the game. But so we'll use flashlight to go 2 versus 0. Grabbed a resource, played flashlight, 2 versus 0. We get another 0. So we grab this clue. We go to the enemy phase. The Estly Guardian shoots us, but hits Alejandro instead. Molly has a laugh to herself. And we go to upkeep. Oh, and we draw the Stubborn Detective. Now all the weaknesses are coming out. So while he is at our location, treat your investigator as if his or her printed text box was blank. Sure. He's going to take a shriveling to the face. That's what's going to happen to him. We go to the Mythos phase, 1 of 9. Encounter card is going to be an Ancient Evils. So actually 2 of 9 now. Actually, that's not the worst. I'd rather see an Ancient Evils than, say, another enemy. Mr. Stubborn Detective, you have no place in this jungle. I am going to shrivel you. We are going to go 6 versus 3. Chaos Bag says -1, so the Stubborn Detective dies. That was action 1. Action 2, we're going to go explore. Circuitous Trail doesn't count. Ruins of Estly counts, though. Man, I just got so lucky with the pulls. That is incredible. Like, getting River Gorge, Getting Rope Bridge, River Canyon, Serpent's Haven, and Ruin of Estley in like basically 3 pulls from the exploration deck is amazing. So it has two clues per investigator, 3 shroud location. After we fail a skill test while investigating, we draw the top card of the encounter deck. That's why we have Drawn to the Flame. So we will draw an encounter card. We get a Snake Bite. We've got a hiding spot. We can try to actually pass this. 4 versus 3. Chaos Bag says tablet. That is a minus number of cards in the exploration deck. That's -5. So we fail. Alejandro takes 5 damage. It doesn't matter if we're... You must choose. Yeah. Okay, so Alejandro... I guess I could take a direct damage too, since we're going to end the game here anyway. So we will take a direct damage from the snake bite we suffered at the temple, or the ruins. And those go away. And we get these 2 clues. And that's game. Because we can... Oh, we only needed 2 clues per investigator? Wow. Are those different? I never noticed that. They are different. Wow, look at that. I so rarely kill each tuck. I had no idea that the one had three clues per investigator and the other had 2. So we spend the 2 clues per investigator and we can end the game. Otherwise, we'd have to go back. If we wanted to find the circuitous trail, we could go do that. But actually, we could do that. We could try to get... All right. I'm not going to end... we should end the game right here. So we basically win, but I'm going to try to grab another... I'm going to try to find the circuitous trail and grab another victory point. So, yes. We... what did we do? We killed, explored, did that. So we have 0 clues there. We could end the game right now and finish, and but we're going to just try to see if we can't get the circuitous trail and then win. We're going to get greedy. We've been doing so well. We had such a smooth run. We draw our sleight of hand. That's not going to be overly helpful right now. 3 of 9. Chaos. Our encounter card is a creeping poison, so we take a damage. And that surges into a Brood of Yig. Brood of Yig gets +1 fight for each vengeance point in the victory display. Now my enthusiasm for trying to go further is... we could evade him. We could simply evade him and then... yes, thanks for the vote of support, Captain Thorne. It's so rare that I get greedy when I could just call it a game right here, but we have 6 turns left, so I feel like we should at least try to get another victory point out of it. I'm just going to evade the Brood here. Because we've got our mists, we can evade the Brood, and then if we want to play our Shriveling to replace the mists, we can do that for 2 resources. So we're going to go 6 versus 2. Chaos Bag gives us another tablet. That is a -5. Okay. That's a -5. So that puts us at 1 versus 2. So we fail. And And Mists does something bad to us. Mists. Choose and discard a card from your hand. I'll discard the Sleight of Hand. Let's do Mists again. Second action, we Mists, and we get an... Oh, come on. -5 auto fail. You gotta be kidding me. Alright, we'll Mists one more time. -2. Okay, so he's evaded. Unfortunately, now we basically wasted our Mists just evading this guy. Upkeep, we draw a Smoking Pipe. Mythos phase, we draw a Low on Supplies. We take a damage or lose 2 resources. I'm going to take a damage. Okay. We're going to need a pile of resources to investigate at the Circuitous Trail, too, aren't we? Yeah, I think I'm just going to call it there. As much as I would like to get another victory point, I feel like the Circuitous Trail is going to be more trouble than it's worth. Yeah, it'd be 3 resources. Well, let's play one more turn. One more turn, and then we'll... if we can't deal with this guy and we can't find the Circuitous Trail, then I think we're... If we get too many enemies, we're just going to have to bail. Let's use Dexter's ability. We'll play the Shriveling in our hand to replace the Mists for 2 resources. So we've got another 4 charges. That's a free triggered ability. Let's shrivel this guy. So we'll use a charge. We're going 6 versus 2. Chaos Bag says, Elder Thing, if you are poisoned, this test automatically... What is it about this? What is going on here? -5, auto fail, auto fail. Makes up for all the zeros I drew earlier. And we take a horror. Alright. Brood of Yig. The Brood who should be dead by now. Let's try it again. That is a -0, but we do take another horror. He can take, Alejandro can take that for us. And let's do it one more time. Chaos Bag says -2. So the Brood of Yig, who fought valiantly, finally dies. He finally dies. We draw David Renfield. 5 of 9, Doom. We draw an Ancient Evils. We go to 6 of 9. Okay, now... So if we got the Circuitous Trail on the first try, we would move. We'd have to spend 3 resources. Yeah, we can still do it. Let's see what our encounter card is. Overgrowth. Oh, okay. Well, that's a hard... Poor Dexter. That guy, that Dexter, Overgrowth is like Dexter's kryptonite. Test 4 combat or 4 intellect. That's not happening. Yeah, we don't have either of those. So that is going to be the game right there, I think. So an Overgrowth on the Ruins of Esley locks Dexter Drake down. He does not have the intellect or the combat. He might be able to do the combat, but there's only 2 tokens in the bag. There's only 2 tokens in the bag that he could possibly do. So let's try. We might as well. First, we get an Elder Thing, so we auto fail. Second, oh, look at that. We draw an Elder Thing, so the Overgrowth goes away. Or an Elder Sign, sorry. We draw an Elder Sign, so the Overgrowth actually goes away. I took 2 encounter cards. Oh. Well, there you go. Alright, well... Okay, let's go back. Alright, we'll shuffle the... So, we're saying we took 2 encounter cards. Let me see. Oh, I did. Okay. There we go. I drew too many. So we'll shuffle that Overgrowth back in. So we actually have 2... We have 2 actions remaining. We've got all our actions back. So let's explore. We've got a couple turns to do this. First card, there's a Lost in the Wilds. So we're testing 6 versus 3. Chaos Bag gives us an auto fail with the Elder Thing. So we take 3 horror. And we can't move or explore. So we take 1, 2, 3. So we're at 7 of 8. Yeah, that's the end of the game right there. So we pull a Lost in the Wilds. We fail with an auto fail because we're poisoned. And we're at 7 of 8 sanity. And poor Alejandro died for us. Otherwise, we would have been dead. So we will spend the 3 clues and advance. And we win. So despite our efforts, we tried to get to the circuitous trail. Unfortunately, the Chaos Bag had other things in mind, throwing -5s and 3, 4 auto fails at us there at the end of the game. So Dexter does not get that extra victory point. But we did get all the rest, I think. 2, 3, 4. 4 with Ichtaka. So pretty good. Actually, I'm actually kind of surprised at Dexter. He did a lot better than I thought he would. The Chaos Bag was extremely kind to us. I mean, we drew I don't know how many zeros. So that you've got to account for that. But we had a great opening hand with David, Renfield, and Molly. We were able to use David. I didn't quite exploit him quite as well as I should have. I made a couple of mistakes. We should have had a couple more resources and than we did. But when push came to shove, we were able to dump David for Molly, and then Molly played a huge role in grabbing us the 2 copies of Holy Rosary. One that we could put in play, so we had 6 willpower, and the other we used to commit to the skill test to defeat Ichtaka. And then Dexter's ability did come in handy. We did swap out our Mists of Rillier for a Shriveling, and his Elder Sign ability came into effect when we popped the flashlight back to our hand and drew a card, and then replayed the flashlight to grab that clue at Serpent's Haven. So his abilities did come into effect. I'm still not sure. I mean, we'd have to see what his deck building is like in terms of assets to see whether he, like, it seems to me like Mystic is probably enough for him. I'm not sure he needs assets from other, he needs and or wants assets from another class, just because, I mean, with his 5 willpower, I mean, that's all he really wants to do. 5 willpower is amazing. So you're going to use your Sixth Sense and Shriveling and Mists to power you through whatever you need. So the tricks we included too, yeah, Alejandro, he told Molly to take a hike, and I would have much preferred Molly to him. So I'm not too sure what other class he would need. I think with his 5 willpower, Mystic is just fine. We did include a couple of tricks, the hiding spots and the sleight of hands, but neither of them played any role in this game. It was just Mystic all the way. A typical, spell slinging Mystic who uses their amazing willpower to crush everything in their path. I'm going to check the time on this stream here, and see how we're doing time-wise. Not too sure how long we've been going for. Oh, almost 2 hours. Okay. I think I'm going to call it there today. But I think we got a pretty good look at Dexter Drake. We went through his abilities and his signature cards. We built a deck, a little theory crafting there about his deck, and how would I rank him against the other Mystics? I'd say he's probably... I haven't played all the Mystics lately. I think I like Diana more. I think I like Luke more. I think he's... when I played... what's his name? The Priest. Against this particular scenario a ton, and he really was hit or miss. I think he's probably better than the Priest, just because he can his special ability doesn't turn off after you use it once, so you can keep using his abilities throughout the game. Father Mateo, yeah, when Father Mateo, you basically use his Elder Sign ability once, and then that's pretty much it for the game. And Father Mateo struggled against this. I felt like, because he doesn't have the willpower that Dexter does. Dexter's up at, that 5 makes all the difference in the world. I mean, the difference between 4 and 5 is huge, particularly when you need to take down Ichtaka and her willpower, and her fight value is 5, so having that 5 already is huge. So I'd put him in the middle of the pack. I don't think he's the best, and I don't think he's the worst. Obviously, this is just a very theoretical playthrough, so we don't. Once we know what cards he can take, we'll have a much clearer idea of what he can actually do. But based just on this, I think, it seems like just using the Mystic cards, would be enough for him, and then throw in a few neutrals and whatnot. I can't think of how much. Hi, Wadmander, welcome to the stream. How much better would Rogue Access make him? That's a good question. Let's take a look at the Rogue. I'm just going to bring up the Rogue cards here on Arkham DB and see what if any... I'll look primarily at the Rogue assets and see what... because I think a lot of the Rogue events, like any of the evasion stuff, is not really gonna help him all that much. Rogue gets him the Derringer. That's a pretty magician's weapon. But, you know, the basic Derringer isn't particularly good. I mean, it's not crazy good. 45 Thompson, that would be something. I guess sleight of hand, but that's I mean, if you're playing with the optional list of taboos, you can't sleight of hand the Thompson into play. What else? We have burglary. Yeah, that's not happening. If he had the Obel, I mean, that's just additional experience, but he could play the Mystic stuff for that if he needs it. And he's got Arcane Research anyway. Colt Vest Pocket. Yeah, that goes with his combat, which is not stellar. I lost in time and space. Glad you could make it. Dexter won. Dexter was a winner in the jungle, despite the snake bites. What else do we have? Gregory? No. What else we have? Knuckle? No. Leo, of course, is amazing. Liquid Courage. That's not bad. Liquid Courage in Dexter would be pretty good because he could, I mean, a willpower 2 test to heal 2 horror, that's not bad. And it's an item that you could use with sleight of hand. Lockpicks, that's not going to help him at all. Of course, Lone Wolf for the resources. Lucky Cigarette Case. That's succeeding by 2 or more. That could actually be okay, but it is an accessory that contests with the Holy Rosary, so you'd have to make up your mind at least going level 0 whether you wanted Lucky Cigarette Case, because that you could use that on all your willpower skill tests to basically draw a bunch of cards, and it has a willpower skill icon. So Lucky Cigarette Case might be worth exploring in Dexter. Pickpocketing, no. Stealth, what? Oh man, no. Switchblade, no. Tennessee Sour Mash, no. What else we have here? Yeah, so the rogue assets, there's not a great deal of them that would be amazing. I mean, we had, there's Leo, there's Lucky Cigarette Case, and Liquid Courage, I think, were the 3 that sort of stood out to me that might be worth exploring. So maybe he could go with a Finn build and just say he could get Mystic, Tricks up to level 3, and then 5 Rogue or Survivor cards or something like that. That would probably be enough, I think, to give him a pretty decent build. Let's just take a quick peek at the events in Rogue. He'd get to use those because they're tricks. Ace in the Hole, of course, is a trick. That would be very. That's always nice. Backstab uses agility. Nope. Contraband, he has no use for that. Coup de grace, he has no use for that. Decoy is evading. I mean, easy marks are nice, but that's level 1 if he would ever get to level 1. It's probably just level 0 rogue if he does. I mean, elusive's always great, but that's on the taboo list now. Yeah, I'm honestly not seeing a ton of stuff on the rogue. Yeah, so I think, looking at the rogue list, I think he's probably going to be pretty much a Mystic with a splash of something else. The 2 agility, like, it's nice to have a little bit of agility just in case he needs to evade something in a pinch, but all those 2 agility events is aren't going to be very helpful. So yeah, if I had to guess, I think he's probably going to be mostly Mystic with maybe with some tricks and maybe a splash of Rogue, just to get him things like Liquid Courage and Sleight of Hand. That would be pretty interesting. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, the book is going to be coming out in probably, I've heard, April possibly. So we won't have to wait too long for Dexter to show up. And we'll get our hands on him, and then we'll just have to wait and see what his real signature cards are. I can't remember from Eldritch Horror or Arkham Horror what his cards usually are. So probably maybe a cane or something like that. Maybe a cane, like a hand slot that adds willpower or something like that. That might be helpful. Yeah, so. Pleasantly surprised, I think, about how Dexter did in the end. I wasn't overly thrilled about his ability at first blush, but it did between his ability and Molly, it did come in handy. So we will have to play him again and see how he does. That is going to, I think, wrap up this stream. Thanks very much, everyone, for dropping by today on this impromptu stream on a very, very cold day here on the plateau. If you enjoyed it, head over to patreon.com, sign up to become a patron, and support the work that I do. I would really appreciate it. You get there's a bunch of rewards over there, and you get access to patron-only content. And otherwise, if there's anything you'd like to see, drop me a line at manfromleng@gmail.com. I'm also on Twitter. And leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think of Dexter and how you would build a deck with him. We explored a few ideas on the stream here, but there are plenty more out there. So thanks again, everyone. Glad you could make it. And I will be back probably either I've got a game I'm lining up with patron Robert Bout. We are going to be playing Murder at the Excelsior Hotel. Looking forward to that one. I've also got another patron game coming up here with Tim Fiskus, and looking forward to getting that one recorded as well. I think we may end up streaming that one, so that'll be an interesting challenge. See if we can't get both our faces up here. And I have a preview of the Where Gods Dwell Mythos pack that I have been working on. I was hoping to get that done today, but when I saw a Dexter released yesterday, I couldn't contain my excitement. So always fun to try out an investigator for the first time. So thank you very much for your support, and we'll see you again soon here on The Whisper in Darkness. That's going to do it for this stream. If you enjoy what you hear, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Head over to patreon.com to become a patron, claim your rewards, and support this channel's goals. If you need to contact me, I can be reached at manfromleng@gmail.com. I'm also on Twitter at manfromleng. Until the stars are right, keep your shotgun close and your elder sign closer. Take care out there, and happy investigating.